The new for 2016 AXYS RMK truly is remarkable, and I can say it's one of the best mountain sleds that I have ever ridden. But what does it actually take to make a Rocky Mountain king? Marty Sampson from Polaris R&D is going to tell us just that.
The success of the Pro Ride chassis was awesome. As we look forward from Pro Ride looking at the AXYS RMK, what we were really trying to do with AXYS RMK was what we like as riders. And as you try to figure out what you want to make better, is to figure out what you maybe can't do on your current sled that you want to do better. Hold that one side hill that you couldn't hold before, maybe the back end washed out, or get the sled to initiate around a corner or around this tree that you wanted to, a line that you wanted to pull. So when it boils back to what we want to make better, it's what we want to make better for ourselves as riders. And the things that became obvious to us were we want the sled to pop out of the snow and get up on top of the snow as quickly as we can. We want it to be as easy as it can possibly be to initiate a turn or maneuver. We wanted the sled to do exactly what you want it to do, to be part of what you're thinking, and to be very predictable so you can do that over and over. So every time you initiate a turn with a given amount of effort, or every time you turn downhill or turn uphill, we want it to feel the same, do the same thing, be really predictable, and do that as easy as possible.
Now with that said, Polaris realized that the previous Pro Ride RMK chassis was a pretty good thing, and they had attributes that they absolutely did not want to change.
The former RMK chassis, the Pro Ride RMK, did a lot of things really well, and we wanted to make sure that we carried that into the new AXYS chassis. We wanted to make sure that the sled, one of the big things that the Pro Ride had and really brought to the marketplace, and that we talked about a lot, was balance. And when you look at the AXYS chassis and then you look back at the Pro Ride chassis, a lot of people would say that both sleds have very, very good balance. So the rider's in the right spot on the chassis responds to the rider because you're in the right spot, whether it's being forward for initiating a turn or being back when you're climbing or turning back uphill in a steep side hill. The balance of the sled and the balance of where the rider interacts with the sled is super important for that. So Pro Ride had good balance. The AXYS chassis has a very similar balance to the Pro Ride. And that was extremely important to us. Along with that, a lot of the things that the Pro Ride really did well, side hilling, holding a side hill. There wasn't too many sleds out there that held a side hill like the Pro Ride did. We knew that, we liked that, and we tried to make that better, and we did. With the AXYS raised chassis, that gives you more clearance to hold that side hill. We narrowed up the bodywork even more to give you more clearance so you can hold that line that you're trying to hold without getting knocked offline or the sled turning up or back down on you. Another thing that our chassis do really, really well is respond to the rider's input. And that's when you put your foot down to initiate a turn or to initiate a maneuver, the chassis needs to be stiff and responsive, have low inertia, and does exactly what the rider wants it to do.
With the chassis of the sled dialed, the heart of this snowmobile was equally as important, and the redesigned 800 Liberty in the 2016 AXYS RMK has been nothing short of impressive.
Well, with the new Liberty HO 800, we're really excited about the performance that engine brings. That engine does a few things for us, and especially in the AXYS RMK, we can talk about it from a few different directions. So one, it brings power. It makes more power than our current 800, and just we all know that mountain sleds thrive on power. So the power of that engine is really, really strong. And another thing that we did with that engine is we focused a lot on response, so throttle response, getting the engine to respond right when you touch the throttle so it leaps forward and gives you that launch that you need in a mountain sled to make that turn or maneuver or get the sled to pop up on top of the snow. And then another big piece of it is the lightweight crankshaft. So that does a couple things for the sled. The lightweight crank came from our race motors, and the reason they wanted lightweight crankshafts in racing is the same reason we want that in mountain sleds, because it lets the engine spool up really quick. You're spinning up less mass, so it spools up when you grab the throttle, part of that response. But the other thing it really does for the RMK sled is it lowers the inertia of the engine. What that means is the engine has less gyroscopic effect over the chassis, so the chassis responds quicker to your input. It responds lighter, it makes it easier to ride. So a lot of people, when they see that lightweight crankshaft, they think just throttle response, but it also makes the sled feel lighter and easier to ride because that engine spinning at over 8,000 RPM is a pretty important piece for the handling of the sled. And taking 2.5 pounds out of that crankshaft is really important for that.
With a potent motor under the hood that not only feels instantly responsive but also hugely powerful, the next thing in the list of changes must be the driveline. Or is it?
So when we look at quick drive in the RMKs, we had quick drive, we brought that to market with the Pro RMK, and we've obviously kept that as we've gone into the AXYS RMK. Quick drive is something that we're really excited about. Quick drive, we have it played back to us a lot by customers that they can't believe how much better the sled feels with the quick drive system in it. They can feel that response, they can feel the sled leap forward, and they can also feel the light handling that you get with the quick drive system. So the quick drive does a few things for the rider. First, it lowers the inertia of the driveline, which makes the sled respond easier, more quickly. And then the second thing it does is it gives you better response. It transfers the power to the driveline very efficiently, so it lets the track spool up quickly. On the inertia piece, we talk a lot about what that actually means to the rider. And as a rider, you love to have the sled do what you want it to do with the least amount of effort possible. And we've equated that back to about a 5-pound difference with the amount of weight or the amount of energy that you need to put into the running board to get the sled to respond with your foot. It takes about 5 pounds less overall if you have the quick drive system on your sled than if you have a chain case system on your sled. Yeah, quick drive is a technology that we're really proud of and something that works really good in mountain sleds, and we're really happy to bring it into the new AXYS RMK chassis.
Each manufacturer has certain keywords that they use as identifiers, and one very important to both Polaris and the RMK platform is lift. But truly, what does that mean?
So when we talk about lift in the AXYS RMK chassis, it means quite a few things to us. First, it means that you get the response from the engine through the driveline into the chassis and into the track. So the sled, when you squeeze the throttle, reacts to that, pops on the snow quickly, and then starts to build speed over the snow. And lift comes in a lot of different ways to a lot of different riders. Lift can possibly mean if you're climbing a hill that the sled doesn't start trenching and start wheeling as you go up the hill, so you still have control over the sled. Lift can mean if you're down in the trees and you're boondocking and you need to cut up around a corner, that you come to a really slow speed and then you grab a bunch of throttle and the sled goes forward instead of trenching out and getting stuck there. Lift might mean that you're out playing in a meadow and you just want to drive away on a deep snow day and the sled doesn't trench down and get stuck when you just stopped, or maybe you stopped slightly uphill and the sled has to have lift to get itself back up on top of the snow and start going forward. So it's something that we concentrate a lot on, and there's a lot built into the design of the AXYS RMK chassis that enhances lift as we talk about it. The new tracks, the new Series 6 and Series 7 tracks that we have, which are their 2.6 and 3-inch lug heights. We concentrate a lot on lift as we develop our tracks. And we develop the tracks so they have lift in the flex of the lug to pop you up on top of the snow, and then to have traction to build speed over the snow. When we talk about lift, it also means that it's the right amount of transfer in the suspension to get the sled up on top of the snow, but not to carry the skis in the air for a long time where you're wasting that energy to try to move the sled forward as quickly as possible to keep you from getting stuck. Everything from the raised chassis work gets the chassis up out of the snow, to the drive shaft positions, to the approach angles of the tracks, to the track design itself, to the rear suspension and how the rear suspension reacts with its geometry when you're on the gas, to get the sled to transfer the right amount of weight, get the track to interface with that, to lift it up out of the snow, and to move you forward as quickly and efficiently as possible.
It's very obvious that the RMK project is extremely important to Polaris, and all of these aspects that we've discussed make the Polaris even better. But at the core, there has always been one thing that's been top of mind for all engineers.
The lighter the sled is, the better it's going to be. The more fun it's going to be, the more reactive it's going to be, the more predictable it's going to be, the less effort it's going to take for you to ride it. So yeah, we're really aggressive about keeping the weight out of our sleds and just driving it down, as much as we can. And it truly is because we want the sled to be as good as we can possibly make it. Can it get lighter? Possibly. Can it get better? Absolutely. There's lots of ways that we can chase that down and make it better and more exciting, and can't wait to see what the future brings.
If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more content from SnowTrax TV, click the like button and subscribe to the SnowTrax TV YouTube channel.